Hello everyone, welcome to HKR Trainings. Today we are going to do a session on the manual testing interview questions. In this session, I'll be covering the frequently asked interview questions on the manual testing. So these are very helpful for you while going to a manual testing interview. So let's get into the questions now. So our topic is manual testing. Let's start with the question, what is manual testing? So this is the best definition you can give the answer to any interviewer. So what is manual testing is testing the functionality of the application manually in order to find the defect. Actually, we have some customer requirements for the product developed by the developers. Right? So we are manually testing the application. Here, human intervention is preferred. So that is the reason we are calling it as manual testing. And this, we are not using any automation tools. We are directly, the end users directly log into the application and manually test the each and every functionalities. So this is called as manual testing. Let's go to the next question. So what are the disadvantages of manual testing? Usually in these days, we are hearing everyone speaking about automation, right? So we have some disadvantages on manual testing. That is why we, in some cases, we opt automation testing. So what are the disadvantages? Manual testing is time consuming and it also requires the presence of the testers. It means if we have some repeated steps to be performed in any application, suppose we have some steps to be tested frequently, like logging to an application or filling a form and submitting it with different types of inputs. We are repeatedly logging in, we are repeatedly creating a form, entering the inputs into it and submitting it. In this case, we'll be going for the automation testing, as it is very much time consuming and also it requires resources. So these are some of the disadvantages of manual testing. Let's move to the next question. So what are the
hello? Yeah, can you be a bit louder, please?
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay. Let's move into our third question. What are the two main categories of software testing? Actually, we have many types of software testing, but mainly we have two categories. One is manual and other is automation. As discussed, manual testing, it is the oldest type of software testing. We usually we are listening the manual testing from couple of years. It is the basic testing we'll be doing. So if anything to be executed regularly, then we will be going for automation testing. In the manual testing, we are not going to use any automation tools. We are not going to write any scripts. But in automation testing, we take the assistance of the tools and scripts like Selenium, JMeter, Postman, and all. These are the automation testing tools where we are going to automate our application and test the application. And explain the software testing lifecycle. As we have software development lifecycle, similarly, testers also follow software testing lifecycle. So we have different phases in testing. These are the steps. We have requirement analysis. The first step is requirement analysis. So here, after receiving the functional spectrum from the business analyst about the product we are testing, we will be gathering the requirements, like what needs to be tested, what is the architecture, what is the integration done on the product. So we'll be checking all the aspects of the product, what needs to be tested. And then the next phase is test planning. Here, we'll be planning the number of resources required for this project, what is the time to be given for this project, what is the software required for this project. These all we will be doing in the test planning. And then test design. In the test design phase, we will be writing the test scenarios. Based on the scenarios, we will be writing the detailed steps, both positive and negative scenarios for each module in the product. Next comes test environment setup. Test environment setup means suppose we need the dependency of any software. For example, client asks to use only Chrome version of 90 and above for testing his application, or he has to use only Safari browser to test this application. So we should make the environment setup ready before we start this test execution. And next comes test execution. So actually in the third phase, we have designed all the scenarios we had to test for this product. So we'll be implementing the test execution in the fifth phase of this test life cycle. And then if we find any bugs, we'll be reporting to our respective leads or else directly to the developers, depending upon the project and depending upon the company you're working on. So once this all gets fixed, after all the QA sign off is done, then we are going to test closure. In this, we will be preparing some document and we'll be we'll be preparing a report like how many test scenarios we have performed, how many are passed, how many issues we got, like how many bugs we have raised, how many are in open state, how many are in rejected. So we'll be including all this in our test closure document. So what is a test case? Test case, for example, we have a website, Amazon website, as we all are aware of that. We regularly use that. So we have the product, we should be able to log in that. We need to select some products, add to the cart, and buy the item. So this is the scenario given for us by the client. So we'll be writing different test cases for that. For example, first test case would be like user should be able to log in to it. The second test case is users should be able to view the products and then add the items to the product and then proceed to checkout. So these are like we are following step by step and we are checking each functionality in the each functionality or each module. We are writing some test cases, and each test case again further will be need to be written in detailed steps. So test cases describes a specific idea that is to be tested. So here we are not writing any detailed test cases. We are just writing the scenarios, and further we will be writing the detailed steps in the detailed test steps. Next one. Define a format for writing a good test case. So for writing any test case for the end client to understand, or else if you are giving the document to any business analyst, or else you are giving the document, or if you found a bug, you're giving a document to the developers, they should be easily able to understand what you have written, what you have tested, and what is the issue you're getting. So let's see, for example, this is a format we can follow. This is the good test case approach. First, we are giving the test case ID. Suppose if we are having, in our company, we use Jira environment. So it depends upon different companies. We use different tools like HPL and ServiceNow or Jira. Suppose we have a request created. For example, I have given here as 1, 2, 3, 4. So for that ID, we are creating a test description. For example, the first test case would be user should be able to log in, and the next case would be user should fill the form and submit the form successfully. So if this is happening correct, then we are giving the status as success. If it is failed, then we are giving it as failed. If this doesn't have any bugs, we are just keeping it as not applicable. If it has any bugs, we are keeping the severity. will be given depending upon the bug you are having. Suppose you are having a bug that you cannot proceed further testing. So it is called a severity bug, and you are going to give the priority as P1. It's very high priority. For example, if an user filled the form and he clicked on the submit button, what happened is app got crashed when he clicked on the submit button. So user is not able to move further. And also when app crashes, it also affects the end user performance. So this can be treated as the high severity, and we can give this priority as P1. This is the environment, like in which environment we are testing this. We have different environments like production, UAT, sandbox. Sandbox is like SQ environment. Production is uh, the customer environment, like customers will be logging. That is the real-time environment, client environment. And UAT is like that is also a kind of the client environment. Before the production, we will be using the UAT environment. So we will be giving the environment name on which we have tested this. Then we are going to give the build version. What is in which version we have tested this, and in which version we have got this stuff. Here we will be writing the detailed steps, like user is able to fill this field. We have many fields in the form, so we will be writing each step here. And then what is the expected result and what is the actual result. Expected result is this is what we should get as per the client requirement. Actual result means what we got when we have tested. For example, for me, the expected result should be user should be able to fill the form and submit the form. But for what I got is app got crashed when I click on the submit button. So this is the difference between expected and the actual results. So if you follow this format, it is a nice approach to prepare the test case document. Okay, let's get into our PPT. What is the difference between the test plan and test strategy? This is also most frequently asked question. See, test plan is prepared by us, like before starting the testing. How we are like, what are the resources we are planning? What is the software we are planning? What are the requirements we have? What we have to do? That all comes under the test plan. Whereas test strategy, it is at higher level. It is prepared by our project manager or test leads, which demonstrate overall approach of the testing of the project. For example, it has all the modules what to be covered in the testing. It has all the bugs what we have encountered, all the positive cases, number of negative cases. When is the QA sign off given? These all the details will be given in the test strategy. So test strategy is at higher level and it is big. Test plan is when compared with the test strategy, test plan is a small document prepared by us. Next question, what is meant by verification and validation? Validation we do from our end, that is from testers, and verification will be done in the from the developers end. It is in this development cycle, and validation we do in the test life cycle. So what is validation? It is like validating the actual output and the expected output. As I told before, if you are performing the functional testing or regression testing or any type of testing, suppose client client has a requirement and he want the output uh, in, uh, in in a similar way. So if you are getting the same output, we will be just validating our output with the requirement given by the client. That is called validation. Verification is like it is from the developer's end. They are checking if they are on the right track to creating the final product. It's like they will be verifying whether they are following the logic or program to finally meet the customer requirements, to finally make the correct product as per the customer requirements. Next question. What is the test closure? As discussed earlier, this is the last phase of test life cycle. This is it's like this is the last phase. As we are going to QA sign off, we will be preparing this test closure cycle. So what we have done in this, like number of experiments, it's like number of test scenarios covered, number of test scenarios designed, and number of test scenarios executed. What are the defects we got? What are the defects rejected by the developer? What are the defects that can be ignored by the business analyst? These all we mention in the test closure document. In which phase should testing begin? Requirements, planning, design, or coding? Testing should begin as soon as in the requirements phase itself. It is also called as Sprint Zero. You may also encounter with this question in most of the interviews. What is Sprint Zero? So Sprint Zero is nothing but it's the testing in the requirements phase itself. Usually we design sprints from Sprint 1, Sprint 2 and all. Sprint 0 is nothing but we are beginning the testing in the requirements phase itself. Can you test a program and find 100% of the errors? This is the most trickiest question asked by the interviewers. It is really impossible to find errors in an application because can we calculate how many errors would be existing in a particular application? Even the developer don't wants to keep any bugs in his application, in his developed application. So we cannot find any like the count of the bugs or the errors in any application because there won't be any formula or any type of thing to calculate how many errors exist in the product. Next, what is end-to-end testing? End-to-end testing completely involves the mimic, such as it interacts with the database, it gets a result using the HTTP protocol, interact with the other hardware, other applications. Suppose we have an integrated environment, like 2 or 3 systems are connected and we have to test it. So suppose we have an UI application in front and we have database application backend. So we need to test the UI. If you are going to insert anything in the UI, it should be reflected in the database. So we'll be covering the UI part as well as the database part. So we are testing all the integrated environments or all the integrated systems with our product. So it is called as end-to-end testing. What is retesting? Retesting is nothing but we are testing the same scenarios again and again. So even you would have listened the regression testing also do the same, right? So the difference between retesting and regression testing is regression testing is done only when there are code changes or any module changes in the application by the developers. If there is any code change in one module, just to see the impact, if it has any impact in the other module, we will be doing the regression testing. Retesting means if you are not drafting any scenarios or anything in any of your tool, then we will be retesting the scenarios again and again, which is just a waste of time. So to avoid the retesting, we need to draft all the test scenarios and we need to mark the status often when the testing is completed. What is user story in manual testing? Actually, these user stories will be given to us, like it will be assigned to us by our business analyst in Zira or ALM, whatever the tool we are using. It means, suppose we have a module, a user story will be created for separate modules within the product and will be assigned to different testers. So see here, its purpose to articulate how a software feature will provide value to the customer. It's like you're attempting to think that user stories are simple software system requirements. Like for any product, we have different modules, right? So depending upon the requirement for each module, a user story is created by BA and will be assigned to the tester. We'll be working on different user stories Once we get the user story, we'll start writing the test scenarios and the test steps, and we'll start our test execution. What are different levels of manual testing? We have 4 levels in manual testing. The first one is unit testing, integration testing, followed by system and user acceptance testing. In unit testing, we are testing the smallest piece of the code. For example, we have three or four developers working on the same kind of product. So one developer will be developing one module and the other developer will be developing the other module. So we are testing we are testing the individual units of the code. This is called as unit testing. Next, integration testing. This is nothing but, as I told, if two developers are working on two different modules, after integrating the code, we are combinedly testing the two codes together. This is called as integration testing. Here, our main aim is to expose the faults in the interface between the modules, just to test if the code is binded together. Are there any bugs in the module? Next is system testing. In system testing, all the components of the software are to be validated. It evaluates all end-to-end system specifications for accurate results. For example, system testing means it's like load testing, performance testing, security testing. For example, if thousands of users, or if it is like testing if thousands of users are able to log into the application at the same time, is application able to handle it? And also security testing also comes under this, whether if unauthorized user is able to log into the system. If unauthorized user is able to log into the system, that is not correct, right? So we this security testing, usability testing, this all comes under the system testing. And one more testing we have is user acceptance testing. This is the last level of testing. Here what happens is, the name itself indicates user acceptance testing. It means this product will be tested in the client environment. There will be a set of users, and in the client environment directly this product will be tested. That is, this is the last stage before going into the production. What is glass box testing? It's nothing but a white box testing. White box testing means we are not just only seeing the UI, we also should know in which internal structure and coding of the software are also tested to improve the design and security of the program. So developers will be writing the code. So depending upon their code, we are going to test our application. So we are getting to know the internal structure. It not only defines the code, but also if you know the architecture, backend architecture, we are going to test in that aspect. So we are knowing its internal structure and coding. So this is called as glass box testing or white box testing. What is gorilla testing? So it's a software testing which is performed on a module based on some random input repeats. Just to confirm if there are no bugs in the test and the developed product, we are giving some random inputs repeatedly and we are testing the product. This is called as gorilla testing. What is gray box testing? As I mentioned earlier, white box testing, we will be knowing all the internal features of the product, like architecture or the code or the program developers has written. So black box testing, we know only the UI part. We don't know what's happening internally. So gray box testing is the combination of both black box and white box testing. So testing this software should also have some internal knowledge, internal workings like the code or the architecture. And also this testing will be done in the UI. What is regression testing? So regression testing or retesting, it's like if any code modification is done in any module, just to see the impact of this in that module and also in the other modules, we'll be doing the regression testing. What are the fields in a bug report? See, first of all, what is a bug? If the system is not working as per the functionality of the client requirement, we can record that as a bug. So we usually report this bug using the bug report. We'll be preparing the bug report and we'll be sending it to the developers or the team managers. So these are the fields should be there in the bug report, and you need a unique ID. If no ID is given to you, or else if you're not working on any Zetas or you're just directly using any Google Sheets, then you can just give the serial number, defect description. So what the bug is, what is the module you have tested and what the bug did you get it. Steps to reproduce. So now you got the bug in your system. The developer also should be able to replicate it in his system so that he will make the code changes and solve the defect. So what we have done to get this bug. So what are the steps to reproduce this bug? We'll be writing the steps. And then what is the module in which we got this bug, and then what is the severity of the bug, whether it is high or medium or low. And a screenshot also. A screenshot is required because in some software there won't be we have some simultaneous actions going on. For the first time it may work properly, and for the second time it may not work. So it's the tester responsibility to have a screenshot when he or she gets a bug. So these all the details should be included in the bug report and shared with the developer or your team manager. What are the roles and responsibilities of an on-site coordinator? Okay, does he or she test too? Do you really think that on-site coordinators test? No, they don't test. They are just a point of contact for the offshore team and to the client. It's like how you're talking with the system using programming language, right? It's an interface. So our on-site coordinator is also a point of contact between us and the client. So what he does, he'll be taking KT from the client and he'll be giving it to the offshore, and vice versa. He'll be taking inputs from the offshore team and give it back to the clients. So these all will be doing it in the scrum calls or daily stand-up meetings. Getting the environment to test already. He'll be telling the offshore team what which environment and we have to use, and just he'll make it all ready. Next, smoke testing or sandy testing. What are the key functionalities to be performed? He'll be reviewing the bugs. He'll be assigning the bugs to the respective dev team, presenting metrics. Metrics is nothing but it's like generating the report, as I told before. It's like traceability matrix, like how many test cases executed, what are the bugs reported. We'll be just giving the count and also the bug details. Next, providing sign-offs. Once we are done and good with the testing, he'll be giving the sign-off. These are the roles and responsibilities of the on-site coordinator or QA lead or QA manager. What is the difference between a bug, a defect, and an error? So, during our testing, if we encounter any issue, like if something is not going to function as expected due to some code error, then if that is encountered during our testing time, then it is called as a bug. What is a defect? Defect is when tester don't find the bug and it goes into the production, and we are able to find that defect there in the production, then it is called a defect. What is an error? It is a misconception of a software developer. So, for example, let's see if business analyst gave a requirement to the developer that if he logins to a page and clicks on an URL, he should be able to navigate to the page. At the same time, he should be able to download a PDF. So there is a misconception for the developer, like he only navigates to the page and we don't develop that. So this is an error. So that is a completely the misunderstanding or misconception of a developer. This is referred to as an error. And this is the most wanted question: can automation testing replace manual testing? So the answer is no, because manual testing can never be replaced, because however we are good at automated tests or writing the code in writing the scripts, manual testing are useful in software development because they are used in situations wherever automation is not possible. There were many scenarios in which automation is not possible. Only the manual testing has to be done. As told earlier, for example, if we want to check the load testing, if we want to check the capacity of the product we are using, so that cannot be achieved by the automation testing. We cannot write any script. If you want to check if you want to do the security testing, if you want to check the authorizations of the page to download any reports, these are all not achieved by the automation testing. This can be done only using manual. So they are similar, like there are many scenarios in which automation testing is not possible and only manual testing is possible. So manual testing can never be replaced with automation testing. When should you opt for manual testing over automation testing? Manual testing, mostly it is opted for short-term projects. Suppose we have a small application and it requires only 1 or 2 members, and we need not require any automation there, right? Because instead of writing the code, instead of maintaining the scripts, instead of maintaining other software to run all this, if it is a short-term project and it is a small application, then we need not require to maintain all the scripts and other software dependency. And ad hoc testing, exploratory testing, usability testing. Ad hoc testing is like when two testers are testing the single module at the same time. Here also we cannot do automation testing. Exploratory testing is similar kind of ad hoc testing. In exploratory testing, we don't know what to test. We'll just learn and test, learn and test. In ad hoc testing, we'll be knowing, first we'll learn what to test and then we'll start testing. And usability testing is similar, like UAT. Here, end users will be directly logging to the application and they'll be testing the final end product. In these cases, manual testing is good and it is optable for over automation testing. What is a change request? Change request is a formal proposal for an alteration to some product or system. I'll explain you. Change request is if suppose initially customer has given a requirement for us. Now he want to alter that. He wants something added to the product. He wants something addition to that what he wanted. So he'll be creating the change request and he'll be assigning the task what to be done in that change request. So this is called as CR. Next, what is a test scenario? It is defined as a functionality that can be tested. So after we get the user stories, we will be first writing the test scenarios, like what are the scenarios to be tested. As a tester, you should put yourself in end user shoes and figure out the real world scenarios and use cases of the applications under test. It means you need, after getting a module to us, we should be able to write the test scenarios, both positive scenarios and negative scenarios. As I told earlier, the Amazon example, similar kind of it. First, we need to be able to log into the system. That is one test scenario. Able to find the product. That is the test scenario. Two similar kind of we'll be having for different applications based upon the requirements. So test scenarios are derived from the user story. What is bug leakage? Bug leakage is nothing but during the testing, if testing team is unable to detect and that is discovered by the end users after going to the production, the product is alive in the production, then we are able to find a bug, then it is called as bug leakage. What is the pesticide paradox? So if you are not maintaining any document or any methodology, any test scripts in any of the document, we'll be repeating the test cases again and again, and we'll no longer find new bugs. It's just waste of our time. This is called as pesticide paradox. So to prevent this pesticide paradox, we usually need to write a set of test cases, and we need to give the status whether that is completed or not regularly. We need to maintain the start date and date status of the test case. So if we are going to use this format, we will be able to find if the test case is completed or not, so that we will be avoiding so that we can avoid repeating the same test cases again and again, which is nothing but wasting of our time. What are the documentations prepared as part of the testing? So the main document, actually we have the bug report document, test case document, as I discussed before. This is also one of the document called BRS. It is nothing but business requirement specification. This is given by our business analyst. This can be developed by business analyst or else our manager. This will be given by them. Here it includes all the business rules, the project scope, and the client requirements. So what to be tested in the project? So what is the client requirement? What is the final output he needs? So during that, what is the testing we can do? So this is all covered in the business requirement specifications. What is the difference between severity and priority? Severity is a parameter to denote the impact of a particular defect on the software. Priority is to decide the order in which defect should be fixed. It means, suppose we have 10 bugs, we have encountered 10 bugs during our testing. So if, for example, as I told before, if I click on any option, any button in the page, if the application crash, then the user will no longer be able to access it, and he has to stop his actions immediately. So it is very high severity bug. So depending upon this severity, we will be giving the priority to the bugs like T1, T2, T3. The first T1 means it's a high priority bug. So developer should work on it first. If you are giving suppose 10 bugs to a developer, and based upon the priority, he will be receiving the bugs as it is impacting the end users. So this is the major difference between severity and priority. Okay, these are the top 30 frequently asked manual testing questions we usually encounter with before or while attending an interview.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.